Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. So I've kind of put this one off a little bit because my enthusiasm for Star Wars outside of The Mandalorian is pretty low these days. And I knew The High Republic was going to be pretty much terrible from day one. You know, we had that famous shot of the whiteboard with all the little fun woke words stuck on it about things they wanted and then dinosaurs. But when I saw this art, it kind of took the this is going to be terrible to another level. And I know that the art and the content of a book is not necessarily the same thing, but as an aspiring author and someone who has looked into the publishing industry significantly and understands how book covers inform readers, this stuff's going to turn people off big time. And it just looks, to me, if you look at this picture, it just looks half-assed would be the nice way of putting it. Some people have called it Tumblr art. I can't even tell, you can't tell the gender of these characters. You can't tell really what their age at all. And they don't look like they're in any kind of danger. This one's got a big goofy grin on their face. And they've got these stupid little things hanging around with big goofy grins. And you see these blaster bolts going by, but they're like 100 yards away. The one with the lightsaber out has their lightsaber back and isn't doing anything to deflect anything. So you just had this weird image of two goofy looking characters riding an even goofier looking speeder. Like, who makes this as a speeder? Why? But that's not even the worst part of it. And a lot of people have talked about this already and pointed out the woke stuff in it. And yeah, it's there. But that's not why it's going to fail. That's not why it's already got low numbers. The reason it's going to fail is because they have taken something that people loved, i.e. the extended universe. And first they decanonized it, and now they're writing over it. And when it comes to books and comic books for a franchise like this, you're not talking about normies. You're not talking about the average person. The average person doesn't buy Star Wars books. The average person doesn't buy Star Wars comics. They watch the movies. They don't have any idea about the cartoons. And that's why when you have people introduced to the cartoons or to a character from the cartoons, like, say, Ahsoka and The Mandalorian, they've never heard of them before. And they're taking these stories that people loved and replacing them. And they're expecting to draw new people in, but that's not how it works. What they should have done is told some of the stories that you knew people wanted. Revan, for example. Bastila Shan, for example. Characters like that. They should have included them. They should have included Thrawn, which may or may not end up in The Mandalorian. They should have used a lot of the stuff from the Knights of the Old Republic, from the Extended Universe side of the Old Republic side of things. And you would have had ready-made stories and ready-made characters that you knew people loved. And that's how you bring in the big fans that buy the books and the comics, if they want them. And then you begin to transition to new characters, new stories, and if you want, a new direction. And then you bring people along. Instead, they're throwing it all out the window. And you have these people who love what was there and you've pissed them off. They're already mad because you got rid of the EU and decanonized it. They're mad about The Last Jedi. They don't like The Rise of Skywalker. And they're hanging on by a thread because of The Mandalorian. And you bring out a huge novel, comic book series, and manga series about a whole bunch of crap they don't care about. And you literally write over what they do care about because this is replacing that time period to an extent. It's not as far back as the Old Republic, but it's also not acknowledging the Old Republic. Especially because in the Old Republic, the Jedi were at their height, and now they're saying the Jedi are at their height during the High Republic, which is only 200 years before the movies, the prequel movies. So you've disenfranchised the large majority of your reader base, and then you've told them, hey, we're going to write on top of it. And you come out and you have the people behind this saying things like, how can I take this in new directions? How can I write something that's Star Wars, but is also this and this and this? And the fans who were going to buy this stuff are going, what the hell? And it's really unfortunate. What they want has already been done by another franchise very, very well. So it is doable. Warhammer 40K. They came out with the Horus Heresy. It has a whole bunch of authors involved. They're all building up to the same thing, writing different characters in different times in the Horus Heresy, doing different things. It's in the novels. It's in the tabletop game and from Forge World. It's in short stories. And it's done amazingly well. And it's because they're writing a time period the fans know and love. They're writing characters the fans were interested in. And they're not replacing what people knew. They're building on top of what people knew. And instead of doing that, Disney is erasing everything, replacing it with characters in the first impression anyone has of these characters is these goofy images. It's not just going to fail, it's going to crash. And the audience they seem to think is there for it isn't going to show up. Because normies, typically, are only interested in a franchise like Star Wars insofar as they see it on the screen. And maybe in video games. They're not, if they were so interested in it they wanted to buy books and comics, they wouldn't be normies. Right? They'd be fans. They'd be hardcore fans. Let's look at the timeline. You have the High Republic as the first thing. Then the Fall of the Jedi, the Reign of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and look, it all leads up to the sequel trilogy. And, let's look at some of these characters, okay? Look at this art. If you were wanting to get into this potentially, and this was the first thing you saw, what would you say? I lost interest when I saw it. I don't even care enough about it to review it. Who cares? And then to make it worse, you have the people who created these characters talking about it. And saying things like, and somehow my brain was like, you need to give 1990s Matthew McConaughey a spaceship and see what happens. That's not a character. That's a cardboard cutout with a ship. When you do that, when this is your description, this is your picture, and then this is your description, someone saying something childish and goofy like, and then somehow my brain said. Can you imagine George R.R. Martin saying, and then somehow my brain said, what if people died at the wedding? Here's another character. Again, what gender is it? You can kind of tell because of this here. But it has a 100% flat chest, and this race is not flat chested. Women. And again, what's the description? Slightly murky, whatever that means. We're describing her as a saber for hire, a monster hunter. She's going to appear in more than just the novel, though. She appears in the middle grade novel that's coming up. But that's still not a character. What's the interesting thing about this person? What is the hook of this character? All you gave me was Monster Hunter Saber for Hire. Well, that describes a whole wide range of people. This is the one actually that gets the closest to giving you a character. And again, I mean, the art speaks for itself. But here we go. A really cool character because he's very mechanically inclined. Whatever. But here's the part. He actually doesn't like all the stuff, all the pomp and circumstance type stuff that goes on with being a Jedi. That's kind of a character there. You have not a motivation, but a little bit of personality peeking out there, right? And it's the kind of person you can picture in your head, like, oh yeah, I could definitely see that, because it kind of harkens back to Qui-Gon Jinn. He just wants to hide in his garage and repair things, and again, that's something you can picture as a character other than murky saber for hire. So that's the closest one to a character so far, and then there's these stupid things. And they, just like before, just like with the sequel trilogy, they could have risen to unbelievable heights, rarely or never before seen in entertainment. But they had to put their agenda in it. They had to be lazy about it. And they didn't put anyone in it who cared about Star Wars or had the first inkling of the extended universe. These people have no idea what they're writing over. They have no idea they're going to piss off a bunch of fans. And they don't care. The reason The Mandalorian is successful with hardcore fans and normies is because The Mandalorian is made by two people who love Star Wars. They understand Star Wars. They know what Star Wars is about. They know why people like it. But the rest of Disney, the rest of Lucasfilm is clueless. And it sucks. I wish this was going to be successful. It's clearly not. This could have been a wider scale, larger scale Horus Heresy type of media thing. But unfortunately, it's not going to be. And it's not going to be the last that we see of this in Star Wars. But maybe with The Mandalorian, if Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni can continue to push their ideas and gain more power and respect within Lucasfilm, maybe we can start to see Star Wars recover. But to me, the cardinal sin here is that they have people doing this that just don't care about it. The reason the Horus Heresy books are successful is because those authors are steeped in the lore and they love the franchise they're writing in. The reason the EU was successful is because those authors were steeped in the lore and loved the franchise they were writing in. The reason Battletech, when it was around, was successful because they cared. These people care about making an agenda point. They don't have any idea how to make good characters. They don't have any idea how to tell a good story. Fortunately, I don't think they're the future of entertainment. I think they're rapidly going to become the past. So if you liked the video, please hit the like video, consider subscribing to the channel if you aren't, and hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.